Hello, welcome. Thank you to everyone who is here in the comments and has been participating in the cover reveal for our second title, Down the Well, coming September 5th this year, 2023, from Veronica King. If you don't know who I am, my name is Zara Hoffman. I'm the founder of Inimitable Books, LLC, a small publishing company dedicated to uplifting marginalized voices without pigeonholing authors into writing about their trauma. I'm going to hand this off to the author of our first title, The Legionnaire, which is coming out June 6, 2023, because she will be interviewing Veronica King, which is a pen name for author-tuber Kelly Wright. So strap in, folks. It's going to be a fun one.
Hi, I'm going to run through your intro really quick. And I am Samantha Trumbull, author of The Legionnaire, coming out June 6th, like Sarah said. And I'm very excited to be here with Veronica King, better known as Kelly Wright, the author of Down the Well, the first book in the Adventures in Thimblestone series. Kelly Wright has a deep imagination and a sail filled with ambition for the sea of opportunity ahead. As a teen, Kelly loved consuming all media about far-off magical worlds. As an adult, she enjoys using her spellbinding creativity to spin whimsical worlds and charming characters from thin air. She calls the foothills of Appalachia home. When she isn't crafting a story, she enjoys kitchen witchery, reading to her young daughters, and playing video games with her spouse. If you want to connect with Kelly outside of this interview, links to all her socials can be found in the description below. Hi, Kelly.
Hello.
Is there anything you would like to add to that intro?
I think that intro was beautiful, and I'm feeling a little bit rosy after.
I think it is definitely a great way to capture your magic.
Oh, thank you.
We are here to celebrate the beautiful cover for your debut novel, which Zara is going to put on the screen so we can all look at it. Do you want to talk a little bit about what the cover design process was like for you?
Okay, so I thought, because I am also an artist, I thought I was going to be real nitpicky and I was going to be a pain in the ass to work with. Luckily, that's not how it went. And Keelan was like a great sport about everything. We went through a handful of drafts, and eventually the end result is what y'all looking at now. But there are some elements in it that like Zara and I weren't even thinking of, that Keelan kind of threw in, that really, I think, make the book pop even more, which is like the leafy border and whatnot. Other than that, I remember the mushrooms that are coming off of the text. We had like a good old discussion about, because once Keelan said, oh, well, I can do mushrooms coming from the text, like a custom text. And we were like, oh, shut up. And we had to do some tweaking because Keelan used like different mushrooms, and we had to do some tweaking there and take some of the mushrooms off certain letters. But then we kind of added in the little daffodil silhouettes, which I think are just so cute. And I wanted, so going into this, I kind of knew the style I was wanting. I was kind of wanting that shadow box feel. I, at the time, wasn't saying like a super duper amount of shadow boxy books because it was really hard for me to pull references. But, you know, I am now seeing that it's kind of becoming a more like popular thing. And that really makes me excited because I think the shadow box style is really pretty.
So you touched on it a little bit, but there are quite a few different symbols and things tucked into your cover. Which one is your favorite?
It has to be the little mouse in the red jacket on the blue well. That is my favorite. And if, you know, whenever readers get the book, I feel like that'll be probably a good majority's favorite element as well, because the little mouse is quite the character.
It really is. What was your biggest inspiration, aside from like the shadow box that you were talking about? What did you want people to feel when they saw your cover?
I wanted them to feel all of the things. I wanted them to feel like they were a water sign for a day. You know what I mean? I wanted them to be roped into it. And I think that centering the wells like we did with the water and how the water like kind of spirals around them. I think that really draws your eye in. And what I'm wanting people to like, whenever people see this, I want them to be like, oh my God, yeah, let me just pick that up. That's what I want them to feel. I want them to feel like they want to pick this book up and buy it.
It's definitely an adventure.
Oh yeah, it's what was the thing? A little bit of whimsy with your trauma.
So I'm going to read the blurb really quick for anyone who doesn't know what Down the Well is about. Lore Diradun wants to be happy when she grows up, but navigating her parents' mercurial moods, moving to a new town just 2 weeks before her high school graduation, and dealing with her beloved grandma's declining health all make that dream seemingly impossible. Will her new job be the first step towards happiness, or will it be yet another disappointment? When she falls down a well into the magical world with talking animals that haven't seen a human for years, she must clear her name of the mayor's murder. Although how anyone believes she killed a Herculean-sized alligator is beyond her. Now, her survival is tied to a mouse with a chip on her shoulder. There's also a cat who owns a pub where the animals' patrons might be cannibals, a giant snake librarian who probably wants to eat her, and sentient lampposts who are never there when you need them. Can Laura prove her innocence, help a newfound friend, save the town from a dark and dangerous schemer, and find her way home? You'll have to read Down the Well to answer those questions.
Yes, definitely. Pre-order the book. Also, not to backtrack here, but I'm just saying that people are just now noticing different aspects, like the little mouse on top of the well. That's something else too that I love about the cover is that every time you look at it, you're going to notice something different. After you read through it and you look at the cover again, you're going to notice something different. So that was like another thing that we were wanting.
I think also if you guys get the hardcover, there's less text on the back, so you get to see even more details. So pre-order the hardcover.
Oh, yeah.
So let's jump into some craft questions. This is like one of my favorite things to talk about with other writers. Let's talk about your characters first.
Okay.
What does character process or character design, character creation look like for you?
It depends on the project. So for this project specifically, the main character went through many different stages because of how long ago this story was originally kind of planted in the back of my mind. So originally, Lore was going to be a male protagonist, but then I was like, no, I don't want to do that now. So then I was kind of playing around with it, and I was like, okay, well, we'll do like a young lady, because obviously I can relate to that. And she went through quite a few iterations for names, but I always knew that I liked the name Lore. And from there, it just kind of sparked of, okay, what do I want her personality to be like? Like, because I know some people do like Myers-Briggs, or they'll assign like an Enneagram number to their characters. While that's all fun, whenever it was coming down to Lore, it was more of putting like little, I know you don't want to do a full self-insert, right? Everyone knows when an author does a self-insert. I wanted to put a little bit of myself in Lore to kind of explore different aspects of past traumas in a healthier way, or in a way that I have more control over. So that's kind of the creation for her. And of course, to every main character, you need a fiery sidekick. And our fiery sidekick would tell you she is the main character. So I think that kind of encompasses Matilda's character well. Like, if you met her, she would tell you she is the main character.
She definitely has main character energy.
She does. I think I told Zara whenever we were going over edits and stuff, I'm like, I'm afraid people are going to be like, oh my God, Matilda's the main character, not Lore, not the human. And I forget exactly what Zara told me, but it was like, no, Lore like comes across as the main character, but like Matilda's just a very like strong personality.
Yeah.
She's probably one of those people that you could only handle in doses. You know what I mean? It's like, oh man, we saw Matilda today. We won't see her for like another 3 weeks.
So I actually wanted to talk about Matilda. I love the way you named her and her sisters.
Oh, yes.
Was that something you went into? You knew you wanted to do that? Or is it like you found a few names and then you were just kind of stuck to it?
So Matilda definitely stuck. The spelling changed because then I found the German spelling. And I'm like, oh, yeah, all about this. And then the German meaning for Matilda is, I believe, like little warrior, like fighting spirit or something. And I was like, oh, this fits. So it's staying. And as far as the other sisters went, honestly, I was just like, okay, I need to go back to like the olden days and pick some names here. And that's kind of what I did, because I feel like the vibes of the book kind of, you know, are very, I don't want to say vintage. It's vintage whimsy with a little sprinkle of trauma if you look close enough.
I don't know if you have to look. Like, I think you can see it from a little far away.
You're like, girl, you don't need to get that close, trust me.
So, I know you said you didn't do like a Myers-Briggs or an Enneagram, but I know you're kind of big on like astrological stuff. Do your characters have astrological signs?
You know, not initially, but like, I bet I can just tell you vibes. Who are you wanting to know exactly? And I can
just do Laura and Matilda.
Okay, Matilda, strong Aries energy. I feel like that tracks. Strong Aries energy for Matilda. Once she gets something in her head, like I guess arguably she could also be a Taurus. So like maybe Aries sun, Taurus rising. But as far as lore goes, I would probably say she is somewhere around maybe a Cancer. Now that I think about it, I'm surrounded by Cancers, and I do see a lot of lores kind of wanting to be soft in certain situations. I can see that in a Cancer. I mean, I could default and just say Pisces because that's my sun sign and we're the best. I know, I'm so funny. Making you laugh.
Okay. Let's move on to world building.
Okay.
So Down the Well takes place in the contemporary world and then this magical world.
Yes.
What was that like coming up with those? And like, what did you focus on to make them feel different?
I think one thing that was a really, obviously there's little Easter eggs in the whole novel, but like Alice in Wonderland, I love just how real her world felt, obviously, in the contemporary world. And surprisingly, that was a lot easier for me to write than what I imagined it was going to be. I thought that was going to be a bit of a challenge because fantasy is something that's always like come easy for me. I've always kind of been off with the fairies. So when it came to like fantasy world building, I knew that that was kind of my stronger footing. But as far as like to make them both different and distinct, I think for this series and for this book, I did a lot of soft world building because then it kind of lets the reader, their imagination kind of run with it. And I think that that's sometimes like that can be the best reading experience is when it's soft and it's there, but it's just enough that the reader can kind of put their own spin on what they think of it or what they're interpreting from it.
And then, so a very cool fun fact about Kelly's map is that you actually don't get to see the whole world from.
No.
How did you decide like what parts of the world to reveal and what parts you wanted to keep secret?
Okay, so myself and Grayson, the wonderful cartographer, talented, wonderful cartographer, Grayson. Yes, there's Grayson. He and I are both like big video game people. And I was like, as soon as I said, you know what, I think I want to do it as a video game. So like in video games, it's you see where your character has been, you know, and as your character moves through the video game, other parts become revealed. But if you didn't reveal any other parts and you're just in one spot, that's the only spot that you can see in the video game overworld map. So here, Charm's End is the only place that's highlighted because that's the only place in the other world that lore has been so far. And as soon as I told Zara's like, oh my God, yes. And then I told Grayson, and Grayson's like, yes. And I'm like, great, we're running with it. And then it kind of came down to what did we want to be covering the rest of the map. And we kind of messed around with a few other ideas. One being like different Celtic knots, kind of running over the areas. But yes, it's a beautiful map. Grayson did
great job.
Yes. And we kind of decided that the knot work would be a little bit too intricate for the map. So then we opted to go with this cloud design, which I think is beautiful. And it's kind of giving Fable vibes to me.
Yeah, I really love that idea. I think that is so cool because you really bring the reader in. Like, we don't know anything more than lore does right now. Like,
exactly.
Hamilton is this vast, magical place, and we're going to explore it at the same time that your main character does.
Yes.
That's fantastic. Let's see. Let's talk about the editing process.
Oh boy. Let's shoot. Let's go.
Can you talk a little bit about what it was like editing before submission and like what it was like editing with Zara?
Okay, so for any writer who's out there and is really hard on themselves, especially with the editing process and the drafting process and kind of like trying to make it as pretty as possible, I think we are all our worst critics. And I think we're a lot harder on ourselves when we're editing ourselves. So whenever I was going through edits, I think I was scrutinizing a little bit more. And then whenever I finally did like submit and obviously got picked up, you know, like turning in that submission after getting feedback from alphas, because I sent it off to alphas before like submitting it to Zara. It was the best I have felt ever turning in a manuscript. And I think that comes from obviously practice, but I also think it comes from like a certain level of like, you need to know when to be done. And I think as our own worst enemies, we tend to scrutinize, our own worst critics, we tend to scrutinize every little detail. And editing with Zara as my editor, it was a lot easier. And it was a lot more reassuring that I knew what I was doing. And it really gives you that next level of confidence whenever you are not only like signed on, that's exciting, but whenever you have a industry professional saying like, yeah, no, this is good. Like you did this very well. And this here needs just a little bit of cleaning up. But other than that, the way you did it, I see what you were going for. And it's just a lot of reassurance. And I'm sure that you have like a similar experience. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
It's always nice for someone to be like, look, you did this great.
Yeah.
I didn't see that I did it great. And then
yeah.
I know someone else thinks it's good.
Yeah, like we're never gonna, I think too, I could get on a rant about capitalism and the society we live in and how it really makes us like scrutinize our every little like detail to perfection. But I think that it's hard for us as humans just to say that, yeah, you know, this is good or this is adequate. And I find that a lot of creative people kind of struggle even more with that. And there are a lot of my close writing friends that I have read their work and I'm like, this is amazing. And literally, what was it? Monday, I think. Yeah, yesterday I was talking to Chandra and Chandra is going through some editing right now. And we were kind of sharing with each other. And I was like, I just want you to know that from what I read, this is amazing so far. And I think you're really like getting close to querying this. And, you know, Chandra was doing a lot of stuff that I didn't even think to do before submitting mine, because I normally just do the damn thing, whether it's like together or like could be together more. I'm just like, we'll wing it. It'll be fine.
Do you think you did better with the deadline or without the deadline?
I like deadlines. I know sometimes people get a lot of anxiety with deadlines, but I think having that deadline set was a little bit more motivating for me to get shit done. I also think too, between editing between a series too, because is a bit different as well, but I'm sure we'll talk about that in the future more in depth. But as far as deadlines with book one, it was more of an exciting experience to have. Like, okay, I have a deadline. This is like an actual thing. It's not like a self-inflicted or self-put-on deadline that I can just scoot at my leisure. If something comes up, it's okay. This is my job now. I have to do it. So it just kind of made it feel more real.
That's how I felt too.
Yeah. It's a great thing.
So I thought now would be a good break for questions, and you can read the first chapter for our audience.
Yes, let me just pull my microphone closer. We'll have some Kelly ASMR reading this chapter. Okay. Let me switch over here. Okay. They say there are two ways to bring a family together, a wedding or a death. Well, whoever said that forgot about illness, which is why Laura was stuck in a truck with her parents and everything they owned. She pressed her forehead against the window and watched the thick line of pine trees pass by in a blur. The radio played some country singer she wasn't a fan of. The whole genre sounded like the same song recycled over and over again to her. Cheer up, Laurette. Hazelboro will be good for us, her mom assured from the front seat with an optimistic drum roll on her thighs, as if that would make her words true. Mom, please, it's Lore. I don't understand what's so hard to grasp. Someone named Charlotte could prefer to go by Charlie, and no one would think twice. I want to go by Lore, and it's such a big fucking deal. Her mother said nothing. She knew she was rolling her eyes. Mama had taken a nasty fall on some slick February ice back around Lore's 18th birthday. And since then, her recovery had been rocky. The doctor said she'd recover faster if she had an aide to help her. But instead, the Diardin family was uprooting their whole life to be near her. Her father had applied for the first job opening he was qualified for, and less than a week later, he was hired. She furrowed her brow as a sigh escaped her. She wouldn't be walking with her graduating class next month. The faces of her friends floated in her mind. No matching graduation cap designs, no silly photos to look back on years down the road. She wouldn't get to hug her English teacher, excited that she had done it. She'd struggled through most of her classes, but it was thanks to multiple after-school tutor sessions with Mrs. Bellamy did on her own time that really helped Laura get her act together. No, she would graduate from a school where she knew no one and wouldn't have the time to make connections. Her dad reminded her constantly, it wasn't a big deal. She just had to get through 2 weeks, then she could walk across that stage and, in her parents' words, finally learn what being an adult is like. Laura's forehead thudded against the window as he hit a pothole hard. Her mom shrieked while her hands braced against the dash and passenger door. Christ's sake, Andrew, it's like you purposely hit those. Her dad bellowed out in laughter. Well, if you could pull a trailer, then maybe you could drive. But here we are. The end of his words held a certain kind of sugar-coated venom. He loved reminding his wife of the things she couldn't do. He regularly had what most would call adulterous affairs, maybe even sinful acts. But she preferred to call them what they really were, a new flavor of the month to feed his narcissistic ego. Her mother knew, and yet there she sat. Laura grew up hearing their arguments. She was beginning to think that their hatred for each other outweighed the possibility of love they could hold for someone else. The town's worn wooden sign was soon in sight. Welcome to Hazelboro. Slow down and smell the daffodils. Well, most of the yellow text was legible. Some of the vowels were almost gone, faded from years of sun and storms. Laura could already smell the apple crisp her grandma would be pulling from the oven and hear the sound of her sweet tea pouring over ice. Wouldn't be much longer now. The truck took the next left turn sharply, and Laura turned to peek out the back window, expecting to see the trailer carrying everything from their old life unhitched and flipped in the road. Luckily, that wasn't the case. Do you have to drive like such a maniac? Her mom hissed. Her dad said nothing, just turned the radio up. It was expected. They'd been in the truck now for about 2 hours. At this point, they were cruising on eggshells. As the truck slowed down, they drove through a picturesque downtown that you'd see in some cheesy holiday movie. For a weekend, the area seemed pretty dead. Laura fidgeted with the end of her braid that hung just over her stomach. They took a few more turns, and then her dad threw the truck into park. He didn't wait for any small talk before jumping out. She felt the truck rock as he put the trailer gate down. Come on, I'm not moving all this shit myself, he called. Her mom finished sending a quick text and flipped the phone shut. Then, with a huff, she opened the door. She lingered a moment longer, taking in the sight of what would be her new home. Hopefully, not for long. Her eyes scanned over the cracked windows and the mismatched siding. It was very faint, but she noticed the cream vinyl paneling butted up against the eggshell white paneling, and it made her want to bite her nails with how god-awful it looked. Laurette, her dad called, come get your shit. She took a deep sigh and slid from the back seat. She brushed past his infamous stink eye and looked among the piles of boxes for the ones with her name written on them. She didn't have much, maybe a grand total of 3. Nowhere near her mom's stuff, which seemed to have every article of clothing from her glory days. Rebecca Durardin was always going on about one day she would be able to fit back into them, and then her marriage would miraculously be fixed. I almost feel bad for her. Laura picked up the first box and headed to the porch. She looked at the paint peeling off the boards as she waited for her mom to unlock the door. We'll probably need a fresh coat of paint, eh? She asked as she balanced the box on her leg. The weight was getting to be a bit much. What did I put in here anyway? Her mom started cursing as she jerked on the house keys. Are they stuck? Her mom jiggled the keys in the door handle again. No, I don't think these are the right ones. Laura set the box down. Here, Mom, let me help. No, I can do it. She crossed her arms and looked back to the truck, and she saw her dad eyeing them as he carried boxes to the bottom porch step. Just let me see. No, her mom shrieked as she jerked on the door more. Laura finally pushed past her and rubbed her temples. It was clear her mom had put in the wrong key. She pulled and jiggled it to no avail. See, her mom shouted and pointed at the door. I told you. Her dad's heavy footsteps up onto the porch sent a chill down her spine. His tight grip on her shoulders forced an audible yelp from her lips. He shoved her out of the way. What'd you fuck up now, Becky? She looked at her mom, who was chewing her nails, where she undoubtedly gotten the trait from. I think she put the wrong key in, her mother answered. Laura's face turned hot white. Who put the wrong key in? You got impatient and you put the wrong key in because you couldn't wait for me to do it. Her mom sounded very relieved with her lie. Her dad turned, anger burning in his eyes. Give me your flannel. She crossed her arms. But it didn't matter if she did or didn't do it. He grabbed her arm and pulled off one sleeve. Laura felt the uncomfortable eyes of onlookers watching. A woman working in the flower beds peering from behind the safety of a rose bush. A man lingering at his mailbox and a couple pushing a stroller on the other side of the road started walking very slowly. Stop it, she yelled. If her father could literally fume, he would have been at this point. He grabbed the collar and gave it a tug that forced her on the ground. The flannel finally slipped off. He wrapped it around his fist and punched through the glass and unlocked it from the other side. The door creaked open. Laura shot up her mom a disgusted glare as she quickly picked up her box and rushed past her dad so that her parents couldn't see the tears welling up in her eyes. As she darted, baby, hold on, mommy is reading right now. As she got to the loft, she picked the nearest door and busted through it. She dropped the box on the floor and stormed over and collapsed on a twin bed on a rusted powder blue frame. She screamed into the mattress until she couldn't anymore. Then, hi, nymph. Yes, I will give you the love. Then she brought her knees close to her chest and just lay there in an empty orange room. Her eyes felt heavy from all the tears. That's when she heard a knock at the door. She shot up, swinging her legs over the bedside, and just above the scratched up floorboards, Laura wiped her face using her black tank top. What? She called. Rebecca Jordan opened the door and pushed in the rest of Laura's boxes with her foot. I brought these for you. When her daughter said nothing, she continued, and this too. She had out the green plaid flannel, a peace offering. Anger. So sorry, cat hair. Anger burned beneath Laura's skin, and the fire was itching to spread. She pursed her lips, moved close enough to snatch her shirt back, and slid it back on. She noticed a tear in the front of one of the a tear in front of one of the buttons. Her gaze fluttered back up to her mom, who was just about to see herself out. What was that about? She spat, her eyes still stinging from bitter tears. Her mom stopped in the doorway but didn't turn around. What do you mean? Telling Dad I put the wrong key in when you did it. I was just trying to help. She began chewing on her lip, waiting as her mom took her sweet time for any sort of response. Her mom waved a hand. You're overreacting. The taste of copper seeped into Laura's mouth. She'd broken skin. Mom. The woman in question turned, only showing her profile, covered by her long, bleached hair. Well, you saw what he did to you. What do you think he would have done to me? Laura's breathing grew ragged and uneven. Her heart felt like it was trying to escape the prison that was her ribcage. She shoved trembling hands into her pockets. So I'm just supposed to be your sacrificial lamb. The anger was doused by the crack in her voice, and all she could hear was the sad desperation of a child longing for her mother's affection. Her mother stood there for a moment longer, still not looking at her daughter. You should decorate your room. It'll make you feel better. Then she left and closed the door. Laura walked back to the bed and let her body thud against the flimsy mattress. She traced circles on the backs of her hands and steadied her breathing. Worst day ever. And that was a dramatic reading.
That was fantastic. And for anyone who enjoyed it as much as I did, you should stay tuned for the audiobook, which Kelly will be narrating.
Yes, I'm going to narrate my own audiobook.
It's going to be great.
Yes, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. It's going to be great.
Okay, so let's turn to some questions about Down the Well.
Yes.
The first question is a fun one.
Okay.
A lot of your main characters are animals. So if you could be any animal, which one would you be and why?
Okay. See, instinctively, I want to say fox because not only, oh shit, man. Sorry, we're having a good time over here just rubbing up against the mic. Instinctively, I want to say fox because that is like the mascot of my channel, but also one of my favorite animals. My actual favorite animal is a dragon, but normally whenever I tell people that, they're like, oh, that's not an animal. And I'm like, please.
Totally counts.
Yeah. Get a better personality. But I guess I would have to say a fox. I feel like, even though I like to shit on myself a lot of the times, I feel like I can be pretty clever. And I was ginger at one point. So that qualifies me, right?
Recently.
Yes. But yeah, I'd have to say I'd probably be a fox.
For the record, I also would have thought you'd be a fox.
Oh, thank you. See, it translates well.
It fits.
Yes.
Which was your favorite animal to humanize?
Oh, definitely Matilda. So the other thing too, when reading that I'm sure readers will pick up on is the size scaling that I have to do. So whenever Matilda wants to assert herself, she normally has to like climb up onto something. And it's something that I have to keep in mind just because she is like the size of my toddler. And she has a big personality, a bit bigger than what her body is. So anytime that I have to write Matilda in a very like self-asserting scene, she has to climb on top of something to command attention. And then there are other characters that are a bit taller, that, you know, size scaling. It's kind of fun to think about, like, how would a possum walk if they were upright? You know, what would that look like? So that was a lot of fun to do. And so I definitely think like thinking about the animals like size and how I wanted to anthropomorphize them and what I wanted to add and take away, because I didn't want her to be like a little mouse that, you know, would be the size to us in like real world.
Mm-hmm.
That's just one way I did it.
You have to read to find out the other ways.
Yes.
If you fell into a fictional world like your main character Lord does, where would you want to go?
So originally I would say I would want to go into like some region of Pokemon, because that's my, yes, exactly. That is a quote from Matilda. Human, I am this size because I am a mouse, not because I'm a child. Oh, so much sass. It's such a small body. But part of me wants to just default to Pokemon because that's like my comfort series and I know the world pretty well and I think I would get along well there. I'm not going to put myself in somewhere like Game of Thrones or The Witcher. Like,
Sounds like a good way to die.
Yeah, like, no, thank you. I would also probably, yeah, I know. I saw that one and I'm like, okay. What was I? Where was I going on about? Shit. Oh, I don't know if I would want to like go into any of my own worlds that I created, just because some of them are a bit sketchy in different places, and I don't know how I get along there. But definitely Pokemon or Animal Crossing.
Okay, so somewhere comforting and calm and.
Yeah, I mean, in Animal Crossing, the worst I'm going to have to deal with is Tom Nook, but you know, he gives you like a 0 interest loan and he isn't on your back about paying it. So
That's better than this world.
Exactly. But yeah.
Right. Is there a lesson that you're hoping people will take out of this book? How do you want them to feel when they've finished it?
You know, that is a good question. That is a wonderful question. And I'm going to answer it with a very vague answer. So, you know, nothing new.
Authors have to keep a mystery.
Yeah, you know, like
Yes.
There isn't one thing I want people to be able to take away from the book. If anything, I just want people to feel seen or see themselves in lore to some degree. I mean, obviously everyone wants their readers to connect to their character, but I do want, I feel like after readers read this, it's going to mean something different for each individual. And I think that that's something beautiful because obviously this industry is very subjective. And I think that there's not just one meaning that can be taken away from this book.
But you do think people have lots of theories, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm a big fan of like little fandoms making like little theories and trying to connect things. And like, I love that. So I tried to make the world as theory friendly and fandom friendly as possible because I love fandom stuff. I'm in a lot of different fandoms. And I just think that that's one of the cool things that I'm able to do now that I'm in the position I'm in.
How did that play into like your thought process when you were like plotting and drafting?
Oh, it made it easier because there are some things where Zara was like, okay, so do you want to elaborate here more? Or like, what exactly does this mean? And I'm like, exactly, what does it mean? And then I was like, exactly. You tell me what you think it means. And then someone's going to have something different from what they think it means. And then y'all can just have a discourse about it.
So you're fueling the online discourse.
Exactly.
Did you put any themes in the book?
None that I think were intentional.
Okay.
I know
The second half was going to be, were there any that you put in there that you didn't realize until you were going back through it?
I didn't realize that I think I had in mind I wanted grief and kind of how people process that and how it's different for everyone to be in the book. But I don't think I really realized that until after editing and like just how strong that theme was, because grief is something that we all go through at some point in our life. Others, it's earlier on, and sometimes it's grief over losing a loved one. Sometimes it's grief over losing friendships that you had. Sometimes it's grief over, shedding your skin and becoming a different person than you were before. And that's really scary.
I feel like Laura even has to grieve the fact that they've moved and she won't get to graduate with her class, aside from the bigger things that she has to grieve in the story.
Exactly. And I think, like, as someone who moved around a lot, my parents got divorced very young. And I do want to go on the record and say that Laura's parents aren't a direct reflection of mine. I do want to go on record and say that. But I did move around a lot because I had divorced parents. And that was something that I kind of had to get used to, was constantly being in new areas and what that meant and what that looked like, and kind of not being able to go back. So yeah, definitely grief in every scale, from mourning like friendships and just moving to a different town, and, losing people close to us, and how that looks for different individuals. Because there's no wrong way to grieve.
I think it's also interesting considering the big incident that she has to grieve happens so quickly before she's pulled into the other world. That really also changes, and to me at least, I think that is interesting to see the process when she's also dealing with all of this new stuff that she has to discover and understand, and the accusations against her. Like, I would not do well dealing with grief and also talking mice. Yeah, I don't think my brain would do both of them well.
I mean, sorry, we're shedding over here. Is what's happening. Yes. She doesn't even care that I'm on an interview right now. She's like, Mom, our house is quiet. Your monsters aren't here. Logan took them out to see his sister. So, like, quiet house. And she's just like, pay attention to me. But sidebar, getting back to main conversation here. That is something too that I think with how sometimes how quickly we are thrown into situations that are very uncomfortable and very heartbreaking, because unfortunately that's sometimes the way life works, and you got to deal with the cards that you get dealt, and the way that some people deal with them are very different than others, as everyone is not the same. And Laura's way of dealing with what happens, I think, is very, I don't want to say unique to her, because I feel like a lot of people might react how she does. But I guess we'll let the fandom decide, like, how she's reacting, because yes, she's reacting in the story, but like, is there a bigger picture here that maybe this is what's actually happening?
No, we're starting the discourse early. So.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you took some inspiration from Alice in Wonderland for lore.
Yes.
If you were to do a retelling inspired by another story, which would you choose?
Okay, so interesting you ask. I do have a Sleeping Beauty retelling, like an actual retelling planned sometime, because my oldest loves Sleeping Beauty, and I'm like, okay, this princess doesn't really have a lot of agency. She sleeps her whole damn movie. But I like to tell myself, I think she just likes the really cool dragon lady and the little 3 fairies, and oh, it's so colorful. But I definitely want to do a Sleeping Beauty retelling at some point. And at another point, am kind of listening to the Brothers Grimm fairy tales, and I would like to kind of do a retelling of, one of the stories that aren't really told that often. Like, I don't know if you heard of Little Thieves. It's really good, and it's
I'm
like,
listening to it right now on audiobook because you recommended it.
oh, it's so good, and it's a retelling of Goose Girl.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, but then once you hear it, you're like, yes.
Yeah.
So it's like, I kind of want to find like an obscure fairy tale that people aren't that familiar with, but some people do know. Or like you would realize it if someone points it out. So, my list is 50 plus and it just keeps growing.
Well, I know you're also doing a lot of research into your ancestry, your heritage.
Yes.
And you will want to do stories from your research. Have you found any stories that you're like, I want to try that one?
I definitely think there are some. So, Cuchulainn or Cuchulainn is an Irish myth. Like, he is a hero, and his story is really interesting. I watched overly sarcastic productions kind of overview of it, but also if you're into anything really Irish, or you're an Irish American trying to reconnect, I really recommend the Irish Pagan School, or Laura O'Brien. She has a YouTube channel and she's an author, and there's just a lot of interesting things that she talks about. Another, I don't know if it's really like so much as a folktale as it is a creature that I would like to go over, but like the Banshee, I think would be really interesting to kind of write a story around. The Woman of the Mounds. So I think that there are some things like that are kind of central to my Irish heritage. Then as far as my German heritage goes, there are quite a few stories I have that are either inspired by just the landscape, or an amalgamation of folk tales that I am familiar with, or creatures that I'm familiar with. I know that there's a middle grade I want to write, and I'm going back and forth between how I want to do the creatures and world building in that world. So I don't know if I want to do them as alpine folklore and alpine creatures and kind of do like that little bit of a nod to that part of my heritage and myself, or if I'd rather just keep it like really high fantasy and a little bit of everything.
And the German and the Irish both have fantastic creatures for you to pull from. So
They
sure
really do.
Great.
Yes.
Quick. So we are down to the last question. So one of my favorite quotes from your book is the tattoo that the baker has.
Oh, yeah.
He who travels has stories to tell.
Yes.
Love that.
Yes.
But it leads Lore to questioning what she wants her story to be. Was that an integral part to you writing this? How much of this was you deciding what story Lore wanted to tell, and how much was it deciding what story you wanted to tell?
I think that is a very deep way to frame that. It's beautiful. It's a lovely question, Sam. I think I wanted that to kind of reflect the kind of feelings that a lot of younger people have that are close to graduation. I know that it's a lot of the feelings I had close to graduation is who is the person that I want to be? Who do I want to be when I grow up? And I tried to kind of capture those feelings that I believe every new graduate or soon to be graduate kind of wrestles with is, what does this mean for me? And the possibilities are endless. And oh my God, that's really scary, but also really exciting. And I kind of just wanted to kind of pack that in there. And how I decided to do that was give the manager at the bakery that tattoo. And whenever I was kind of looking for like, okay, how do I want to do this? That quote, I believe, is an Irish saying or an Irish proverb, which I was like, oh, perfect. More heritage stuff I can shove into this book.
Nice little nod too.
Yes. So I hope that answers your question as eloquently as you asked it. I hope that was an equally eloquent answer.
It was great. It's the honest answer, which is the best part.
If there's one thing that I am, it's honest. Or at least I try to be.
Thank you, everybody in the audience, for joining us today to celebrate Kelly's beautiful cover reveal. And if you are watching this in live or afterward, thank you for coming to watch. I hope you had a good time. Don't forget to pre-order Kelly's book. Her pre-order gift is some stickers that she designed herself, which is super cool. So pre-order and make sure you register your pre-order so you can get those gifts.
And I just want to say thank you to everyone in the community and all of my writing friends who have really been like sharing the love. I feel so enveloped in community, and it's really nice for someone who really had a hard time feeling like she fit in anywhere. So
you fit in here and you are definitely loved.
Thank you. I'm not going to cry. I put on my makeup and I look damn good. I'm not going to roll the outro.